Hey, Els, it's me again. This time here to help give you a bit of some insights and overview for your 3-1 observational exercise this week. This is your kind of your chance to go get your feet wet as an anthropologist. How fun and exciting! Um, yeah. So unfortunately, I don't have the means to do screen sharing right now, so I can't. Unfortunately, I can't point and show you the things that I'm talking about. So this is what I suggest: actually have this video up and the rubric up at the same time for the 3-1 exercise, and that way you can kind of follow me as I go through it. All right. So first thing here is well, let me back up real quick. Even though we're calling this as an observational exercise, it really works kind of like a discussion, except instead of having a focused discussion prompt, you get to go pick a cultural group. Okay. Now, I don't want you all to freak out like, oh my gosh, I got to go study some, observe some exotic group, right? No. Right. Think about your own backyard, right? You can do observation anywhere. Okay. It doesn't have to be in some foreign country with some foreign cultural group. Not at all. All right. In fact, one of my favorite things to do is when I'm standing in line at the grocery store and checking out is observing all the folks around me. That wouldn't really work for this exercise, but think of I don't know, some subculture you're interested in. Maybe it's a religion, maybe it's some sport. Uh, let's see here. I wrote down some notes here, like, oh, maybe you're interested in going and getting fit, right, and joining a gym. Well, guess what? There's a whole gym subculture, right, or exercise subculture, and various forms of it. In terms of maybe you go to a sports bar because frankly, I'm not a big sports fan or anything like that. I might watch a few football games a year, but I'm not like go Packers or anything like that. No, it doesn't really it's not on my bandwidth. But it's something that interests me. I'm like, why do people get all into this, right? So I might go to a sports bar and explore like, oh, so this is what being a sports fan is like. Okay. Um, yeah, just some ideas to get your brains going. But what I want to stress in terms of the process, right, which is a critical element here, is that you put some thought into it. Don't be like, oh, I just did this because it was easy. No, right? Explain to me why did you pick this particular group? What does it matter to you? Okay, so it's kind of a personal thing, and I want to encourage you, to to be forthcoming. Okay. Yeah. Moving on down the list of critical elements, you'll next see location. Okay. Be specific. Okay. Go so far as to identify the country, all right, the state, the county, all right. You can even give probably shouldn't give physical addresses, but is it in downtown Houston? Is it that sort of detail? What time of day did you do your observations? Right. uh, Paint kind of a picture of the general context as well. All right. So, I don't know, you might be into yoga. Okay. Well, do you go to the yoga studio that's in the strip mall, or do you go to a yoga studio that's run out of somebody's house? All right. There's a big difference. Describe it, paint it in words. Okay. And this is where kind of creative writing can be a real asset to anthropology. Next up, you want to kind of describe the method used. Okay, now this is probably where you're going to have to put the most work into this, right? Because you just can't go shooting from the hip. Okay, are you going to do participant observation? Are you going to do just direct observation? Uh, and to get a good idea of what sort of method is best suited to what you're interested in, you're going to need to review the supplemental materials. There's a PDF up about participant observation in the module 3 resources. And there's also a very large PDF, right, of it's edited by H. Russell Barnard. He is the man, okay? Every graduate student that goes and develops a prospectus and goes and does research, right, they are citing Russell Barnard, well, anthropologist, because he's kind of the authority. He has put all these various methods together in a nice, very big, thick book, right? I don't expect you to read the whole thing, obviously, right? But definitely check out, give it a look over. I would particularly suggest checking out chapters 13, 14, and 15, all right? Yeah, you want to define, right? Take the time to define your method, right? And don't just quote it. Paraphrase it, put it in your own words, right? Because it shows how you internalize it that way, right? Because anyone can parrot, right? Anyone can be like, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't show me much, right? But when you put it in your own words, right? I'm like, oh, okay, I can see how this person is internalizing and processing these concepts. That's something that I really look for. Be sure to, cite it, right? Always give credit where it's due. Next up on the list of critical elements is utility. All right, you want to think of this as the pros and cons. Every method has certain benefits, but at the same time, it'll also have certain drawbacks. Okay, no method is absolutely perfect. Right, they can be really well focused for observing or understanding particular things, but at the same time that they're focused on those things, they're not focused on the things over here. All right, participant observation. You're down in it. Okay, you are experiencing it. Right. Well, one of the drawbacks of that is you don't have distance. All right. And distance can be a positive. It can be a real benefit because you can get a broader overview perspective. Okay. So that's just an example, and don't go just regurgitating that back to me. But it should help you kind of think about, utility, pros and cons about your method of choice. Next up, context. All right. This kind of connects to location, but keep it as a separate section. This is, say you're going to, I don't know, trying to think of an example off the top of my head, some religious ceremony, right? Is it a ritual? Is it some rite of passage, like a marriage? Is it a baptism? Being able to describe those symbolic interpretations is important, right? So that's kind of what you want to be doing for the context aspect. Maybe you go visit a farm, right? Well, that's all going to be about subsistence. All right, you see how I'm connecting, right, the general interest to a specific, kind of theme that we talk about in anthropology. Right? Lastly, for the first part of this, is you need to include an anecdote. And think of this as a story that kind of reflects what you learned and the significance of it. Okay. If you've been watching my videos, you'll often see me describe or share little anecdotes from my experiences doing research in West Africa and other places, right? Well, you might go back and look at some of those and be like, yeah, I see what he's getting at there. Use that as your model, okay? The other side of this assignment, because it's kind of treated like a discussion, is you need to respond to at least two of your fellow classmates. Now, I don't want to see, this is great observation, way to go, blah, blah, blah. Right, no, anybody can do that. That's not furthering discussion. That's not applying critical thinking. No. What about the research method? What sort of observational method did they use? Did they use it appropriately? Do you agree with the pros and cons they outlined? You might compare those to your own method that you used, right? Yeah, you might even be like, oh, well, this fellow classmate used this perspective or used this method, and I use this method, and I can see by using both of these methods together, I can get a better understanding of X, Y, and Z. Okay, uh, that's the sort of thing that I'm looking for in your response posts. Okay, engaging the material and each other. Right, it's the engagement portion of these is really all about showing critical thinking skills. So yeah, I want to encourage you to do that. Yeah, that's a quick run through. I'm really looking forward to your all's posts and your responses to each other, and I hope to see you take my advice to heart. I'll see you in the discussion boards. Take care, y'all. Bye.